Young Dolph.
Young Dolph. Okay.
Yep.
That is the biggest thing going on right now, Young Dolph's murder. They arrested 2 individuals. And a lot of people have asked me about this, so I'll explain this about what happened. Justin Jackson, I think, was the perpetrator they picked up yesterday. They caught him in Indiana, if I'm correct.
He was on the run.
He was on the run, but they arrested him and another guy, Cornelius or something like that. I forget his last name, but we could always fact check that. Anyway, 2 individuals were arrested. Now, the first individual, the guy they picked up yesterday, Mr. Justin Jackson, whatever his name was, he was on the run, and he did a rap music video trying to say that he's this. He started showing money. I guess he wanted to put something out to blow himself up before he got caught, you know? And he agreed to turn himself in, but he didn't turn himself in. They had to go and find him. Now, from what I understand, they had over 500 tips on this case, or 500, calls that people called in, because Young Dolph was respected and probably loved in his community, and a lot of people respected him. So there were a lot of phone calls that went out about what happened in this case. Most importantly, there was a guy on the internet that was telling everything about the car and everything else and how it was at, whose car it was. So the case is really solved really back then when the homicide first happened with Young Dolph.
So a YouTuber solved this case.
A YouTuber, in my opinion, he gave some very good information out. And see, that's what's happening right now. If you remember the woman that got killed and disappeared from Long Island, was it Joe Burnett? What was her name? I forget the woman's name, but it didn't come to me. But remember all the YouTube and all the people that made comments on this guy, Brian, somehow, her boyfriend that killed her? And apparently he killed himself, which I always believed, because they couldn't find him, and they found his remains. But he, they all had called in, and people called in, and they were saying about where this guy was spotted, his whereabouts. So YouTube it works good and it works bad. But now going back to Young Dolph's case, they arrested the one guy yesterday. They picked him up in Indiana, Justin Jackson, right? And so now the second perp that they arrested as well, they already included him into the press conference. They arrested him on an auto theft charge on December 9th, somewhere around December. They already had him. So I'm pretty sure they had him already, and I'm pretty sure that they already talked to him, and he probably provided information, because, most guys now, they don't want to go to jail and do 30, 40, 50 years in jail for nobody, especially if they were at a crime, especially when a murder took place, because you're looking at heavy numbers. You're looking at a lot of time. So what they did was that they used it as part and parcel, as they call. They brought him up along with this guy, and then now we have 2 guys. Then today they have a 3rd guy. They picked up another guy who was accessory after the fact, and what that means really is that he was in the car driving Justin Jackson around to sort of hinder prosecution and to avoid him from being arrested. So they charged him with his involvement after the fact, aiding and abetting a fugitive. What happened? So, but right now he's got an attorney, so he already had an attorney. Once you issue a arrest warrant, his right to counsel already attaches. So he already had an attorney assigned, but he picked up a high-profile attorney that did Young Black's case.
Black Youngster.
Black Youngster's case. So he's got a high-powered attorney that's familiar with cases like this. So, being that said, the case is still not over yet. And I always told people that there's still those 2 homicides that happened in Covington where people were killed there, and that white car was used. So I'm sure the police and the feds are going to be wrapping that up soon, or charging somebody with those murders, whether it be this individual they picked up or the other one, or somebody that they knew. Because definitely this is more than just Dolph's murder. It involves other homicides as well and other shootings. So I'm sure they're going to pinpoint all the violence that these guys did when they were out there committing violence. And they're going to bring up all the information they're going to gather, the witnesses they're going to talk to, the evidence they're going to collect, and they're going to build a case against these guys, a very strong case against them, The car is one thing, and then the witnesses, and then you have confidential informants. You have a lot of things that are going on with this case, but a lot of people wanted to see these guys caught that killed young Dolph. I think it was a lot going on. I think, was it Yo Gotti's house got shot up? Was it?
I think it was Black Youngster's mother.
Black Youngster's, I'm saying Black Youngster's mother. Let me correct myself. House grandmother got shot. They said it was true, then they said it wasn't true.
Yeah, we don't know.
There was
the internet. It's never. You never
right.
know.
There was a lot coming out of Memphis at the time, and then the craziest thing was in this whole case, there was a comedian, and a lot of people don't know this, that I think a few days after Dolph's death, he was making some jokes about, yeah, we're gangsta out here, said something negative about young Dolph. He was killed.
Wow.
That guy got killed like 2 or 3 days later. So there's that homicide now. Now you got to find out about that murder as well. Who killed him? So it's a lot going on right now. The streets are definitely talking, and like I said, when you have cases like this, it's good to see them because people now are seeing that these cases can be solved because like other cases that happen in hip hop, in the rap music industry, people are not holding back. They're talking, the snitches, they get stitches routine is starting to play out because a lot of these guys can't really do time, not the way things are today. So, and then with social media and everything else going on, and then people are tired too of seeing their friends or idols or people that they respect in this community get killed or shot. That's a big thing too. So, there's a lot of that going on as well. Where people are upset about that as well.
Right, I never heard of that happening. Like they shut down the city in the midst of his Dolph's death.
Well, you got to remember, Dolph was big, man. He was a big artist. That was like when Biggie Smalls got killed here years ago. We shut down the city pretty much. We had Brooklyn and Manhattan locked down because we had to do the funeral procession from the city into Brooklyn and go through Brooklyn with his body. And we shut down the whole city with that because Biggie was big. He was loved. He was Brooklyn. He was New York, at that time. Tupac, at that time, he wasn't so much New York. He was, but he wasn't because he was out on the West Coast. So he belonged to Suge. He was theirs. He was like, we always say he's one of ours or you're one of theirs or whatever. That's how say it about how people are when they come from different cities. And then if you notice, a lot of these rap artists are getting shot. As soon as I did the case with yesterday when I spoke about young Dolph, as soon as I finished wrapping up my interview with him, some other rapper got shot somewhere else. So, and one question they asked me was, do you think the violence is going to stop in hip hop? And I said no. And it's like, I know when I talk about some of these rappers, a lot of rappers look at me and say, like, Derrick, who is this guy? And I say to them, well, he's a rapper. Or he puts himself out there as a rap artist, And the media puts him out as a rap artist. So this is what happens right now. And then he's spoken about or talked about as being a rap artist. And then the news gets a hold of it, and then he's in the media. And then here we have another rapper who got killed in a shootout.
Right. I think it was like a week or so, or a few days after young Dolph's murder. It could have been a few weeks. The car was found and impounded?
The car was found and impounded. It was a car that was used at the scene. They had videos of it. And they got the car, They impounded it, and it was part of evidence.
Right. How sure you think law enforcement is that these are the guys that murdered Dolph and not just going off of what YouTubers say? Because, yeah, I saw the video of the YouTuber, putting the photos up. And it could, I could stand next to a car and say, yeah, that's a white car, and say, yeah, that's my.
Well, you got to understand. The police don't go on what the YouTuber says. They might look at his information or her information and say, "Oh, it seems like it's credible," but they do an investigation. Everything is an investigation. So you're not going to rely on YouTube to help you solve a case. You're going to go out there and you're going to gather evidence, talk to witnesses, and build your case. And that's what they did. Believe me, that's what they did. If they took this long to get this case, and they had over 500 tips, and they did a complete investigation. So when the U.S. Marshals get involved, they come pick him up because he's a fugitive that they want. They had enough to get him. They really did. Well, that's what happened. They already had a manhunt on for him already. He was already being hunted already. It was just when they chose to leak it to the press and let them know they were looking for him. Because generally, when you look for somebody, you don't want the press to get it just yet, because then it gets out there. You want to be able to get this guy before it causes any more problems. However, though, in this particular case, once his name came up and they released it and they didn't find him, he was supposed to turn himself in. Now people are going to call because now they know who the person that's responsible for the Dolph's death. So that person has got to be a little shook too, because by you being out here in the streets now, remember there's a reward out for you to capture you, And then you might have some dudes that might be out here in the street that be like, yo, Young Dolph was my man. I hope they catch him before I do. And I've seen that happen a lot of times, you know?
Now, the internet has, I believe, has connected, you know, Black Youngster and Yo Gotti to the murder somehow. And especially now since the lawyer representing one of the suspects actually represented Black Youngster or Yo Gotti in the past. Like, how does that?
Well, that just listen. It's a high-profile case, so this attorney, by him taking the case, he becomes a high-profile attorney. Or if he listen, the Black Youngster's case, he was already out there. So look, they just put it out that the attorney that represented him is now representing this guy who killed Young Dolph. So, you know, it's a high-profile case, and this attorney is going to get a lot of recognition. But I'm sure he's going to do a thorough job and take on the case and then go with it. Now, this guy is already claiming that he's innocent, that he's got nothing to do with that. However, again, you're innocent and you're guilty until you're proven innocent, right? That's what they say sometimes. With people, you're guilty until you're proven innocent. In this particular case, I mean, with the evidence that they gathered, I'm sure they had enough to pick him up or to go after him. They wouldn't have announced it and they wouldn't have gone after him if they didn't have enough.
Right. How crazy would it be if we actually see Yo Gotti and Black Youngster being pulled into this somehow?
I mean, anything is possible right now because remember I told you this is not over yet.
Right.
You still got this comedian who got killed. You still got those homicides that happened in another jurisdiction with that car being involved. So this is not over yet. There's still more to do. So you'll probably see, I would say in the next couple of weeks, you might see more arrests because you just saw a third arrest today. They picked up the guy who was aiding and abetting, sort of hiding this individual out so that they couldn't catch him, that law enforcement couldn't catch him. So that came out. So there's still a lot to go on in this case. It's not over yet.
Mm-hmm. Let me speculate here. Let's hypothetically say that Yo Gotti or Black Youngster did have something to do with this, and No has some, you know, I don't know, maybe let's say ordered the hit through one of these guys that got arrested, or knew knowledge of it. They could just be like, listen, hey, take this from me, and I'll take care of you financially. And it ends there. You will never find out the complete truth.
I don't know. I mean, listen, to be honest with you, if somebody else was involved in his Young Dolph's murder, it's going to come out. It's definitely going to come out. But shame on the person that was involved with it. That, remember, the streets know a lot of stuff was going on. So if they find out that somebody else was involved in this guy's murder and they knew who it was, he's got to worry about his safety on the streets because he might be out here and you might have somebody who was Young Dolph's family or good friends of his or even people that respected him that might come after you once they know it's you, that you're involved.
Right. There it is, man. Any last words?
I said this before, talking about this rap music industry, and, you know, people ask me this all the time about how violent the industry is. It's violent now. And, you know, it's a community that needs policing because it can't really police itself. I mean, I know like guys like Snoop Dogg and a few other the OGs in the game are trying to tell these guys this is nonsense, like knock it off. You guys need to stop shooting and killing one another. It's not going to work until these guys really take this seriously and they really sit down and try to get hold of these guys and try to talk to these people on the street about that. But I don't think it's going to stop because every other day with social media and these YouTubes, and you have a new artist or a new guy who's appearing. Case in point, there was a guy named Spot 'em Got 'em, right? Okay. He was out of Miami, and he got arrested with an assault rifle back in Miami, in Florida, right? A couple months ago. And then you read about him later on, later this year, and then early this year. And then you see later on that he got shot about 10 to 15 times at a recording studio when he came out. So you see how things happen, you know, you're one way and then things happen another way. And then, you know, law enforcement has to really now pay attention to what's going on in this rap music industry because it's the media. It gets a lot of attention through the media, through the public, and then it becomes a big case. It becomes a case where the police have to solve it, or they have a lot of pressure on them to solve it because of the community and the people that are in this community. So, like I said, once again, hopefully, I'm sort of optimistic, but I'm realistic as well, that this it's not going to stop this violence in hip hop. I don't think it's going to stop.